tonight. President Tinubu reiterates commitment to efficient energy delivery in the country. And countdown begins for intending FCT pilgrims as the Welfare Board fixes December 1st as payment deadline. A very good evening and thank you for joining us on the 7 p.m. news on NTA Channel 5, Abuja, the Unity Station. I am Abdullah Hajia. First, let's begin from the presidency, where President Bola Tinubu is expecting an accelerated progress as Presidential Power Initiative, otherwise known as the Siemens Project, prepare for next phase of implementation. President Tinubu, who met with the delegation of the Siemens Energy at the State House, promises additional funding to fast-track the project actualization. State House correspondent Musbao Danohab reports.
The Presidential Power Initiative was born out of a strategic partnership between Nigeria and Germany in 2018. It is aimed at sustainability and stability in the Nigerian power sector. Since President Tinubu injected more energy into the initiative with the signing of accelerated agreements in December 2023, the minister in charge is here reporting progress.
Under the pilot phase, which is the phase 0, we have achieved significant infrastructure upgrades and capacity enhancements that are already impacting grid stability and reliability across the country. Siemens Energy has successfully delivered and commissioned 10 units of 132/33 kV mobile substations, 3 units of 75 by 100 MVA transformers, and 7 units of 60 by 66 MVA transformers across key load centers nationwide, and this has added an unprecedented 984 megawatts of transmission capacity to the grid.
The project is now set for the execution of a second batch of phase 1.
Our key request for today is to get support on the commencement of the phase 1 batch 2. We have submitted proposals and we look for a budget of 970 million that should be included in the borrowing of the country to build additional substations and to upgrade the systems as we have proposed to the minister and to FGN Power.
The progress to date is notable and we can feel it, but not yet where we want it to be.
And now, President Tinubu expresses his administration's readiness to speed up implementation. He says, with the centrality of sustainable power to development of other sectors, no industrial or economic development could be recorded without constant power.
We are going to resource and, find a way to fund the additional 10 mobile substations as long as we follow this up. It's a thing that we must, all achieve for this continent to see the glory of economic recovery and banish poverty.
The Presidential Power Initiative was conceived as part of a strategic partnership between Nigeria and Germany in 2018 under the immediate past President, late Muhammadu Buhari. From the State House, Musbao and Wahab, NT News.
Let's talk health now. Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Ali Pate, is advocating phasing out Nigeria's dependence on foreign grants to combat HIV and AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria. This was when he appeared before the House Committee on Infectious Disease for an investigative hearing on the utilization of foreign grants in the health sector. National Assembly correspondent Mitari Ibeng reports.
Lawmakers are concerned that huge donor funds to strengthen Nigeria's health systems have not reduced the country's burden of infectious diseases. These include a cumulative sum of $4.6 billion received by Nigeria as foreign grants to fight HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria from the Global Fund and United States Agency for International Development between 2012 and 2025.
And the expected outcomes are a comprehensive evidence-based report detailing how the grants were received, how they were utilized, and what impacts were achieved.
The era of spending Nigerian money without approval and accountability is over. We are in the process of streamlining the coordination of the response against HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria with the amendment of the NACA Establishment Bill to turn the agency to a multi-sector driven one with increased mandate to coordinate the response against HIV, TB, and malaria.
For the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, it's time for Nigeria to take ownership of financing its healthcare priorities, especially for infectious diseases, as donor funding is on a decline.
We have been underspending domestically, and hence the inadvertent dependency on these external financing mechanisms. And with this hearing, we're very encouraged that we will see Nigeria get closer to the target in terms of steady increase in domestic financing.
The lawmakers and policymakers are on the same page that every kobo allocated for public health should be accounted for to keep the statistics low on infant mortality from HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Here in the FCT Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board has fixed 1st of December 2025 as deadline for the payment of 2026 Hajj exercise. The board also announced a new Hajj fare for 2026 Hajj as released by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHCON, as 7,696,769 naira 76 kobo only. In a statement by the board's public relations officer, Muhammad Lawal Aliyu says intending pilgrims have been advised to complete payments before the deadline in order to book for a seat to be part of the spiritual journey. He says all payments to the board must be via a bank draft as no cash transaction will be entertained. He reveals that the board has initiated negotiations with service providers in Saudi Arabia for the provision of feeding and befitting accommodation in Makkah during the 2026 Hajj, which is in line with the desire of the board to render best services to FCT contingent to this year's Hajj. Staff of the Federal Capital Territory Internal Revenue Service has honored the acting executive chairman, Michael Ango. At a symbolic event, the staff described Michael Ango as a reform-minded leader who has repositioned the service towards excellence and institutional growth. The FCT IRS boss expressed gratitude to the staff for the honor, noting that he was pleasantly surprised by the turnout and the warm reception, reaffirming his resolve to build an organization that prioritizes staff welfare, professional growth, and service excellence. He, however, reveals his administration's plan to introduce a fully automated, merit-based promotion examination system, improve working conditions across tax offices, and procurement of staff buses to ease transportation challenges faced by staff. Now, Nigeria is charting a bold path towards 2050, aiming for a future where science drives innovation, creates jobs, and transforms communities. As the nation marks World Science Day for Peace and Development, Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Kingsley Tochukwu Ude, has urged Nigerians to trust science and commit to using innovation as a catalyst for national transformation. Justin Benwin reports.
As Nigeria marks the 2025 World Science Day for Peace and Development, the nation reflects on the vital role of science in driving progress, peace, and sustainable development. This year's theme, Trust, Transformation and Tomorrow, the science we need for 2050, calls for renewed confidence in scientific innovation and a shared commitment to building a brighter, more inclusive future. The Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Kingsley Tochukwu Ude, SAN, emphasized that building public trust in science is central to achieving Nigeria's vision of inclusive growth and technological leadership.
Our path to 2050 involves more than just advancing technology. It is about making sure that science continues to be reliable, approachable, inclusive, culture sensitive, and influential. It is about making sure that innovation represents our nation's ideals, resilience, and the potential of our youth and the ambitions of our population.
Nigerians were urged to embrace innovation as a tool for transformation, noting that the technologies and ideas of today will shape the nation's tomorrow, looking towards 2050. The event also highlighted the promise of Nigeria's youth, as two primary school pupils, Joy Ezekiel and Olga John Mario, were recognized and awarded for their achievements in STEM. Clear signs that the country's scientific future is bright. Justin Bemuni, NTA News.
The Halal Children Home, alongside compassionate Nigerians and supporting partners, have organized a 5-kilometer solidarity walk to promote love, restore hope, and advocate for orphans and out-of-school children. Shamsuddin Usman brings us details.
In every child's eyes, there's a story of love, wanting to be found, a future waiting to be written. But for many children, orphans, abandoned and out of school, that story is paused by hardship and silence. Today, the Halal Children's Home chose not to look away. They chose not to just care, but to act. From Al-Nur Masjid, hearts united, feet began to move. Voices began to rise, not in protest, but in hope. A 5-kilometer walk through Ademola Adetokunbo Avenue, Wusetu, and surrounding neighborhoods, not just a journey on the road, but a journey into the conscience of a nation. Men, women, youth, different voices, one message as they chant. Foster a child today. Take orphans and vulnerable children off the streets. At the finish point, emotions ran deep as Ustaz Abdullah Musa Abdullah reminded participants to see every vulnerable child as their own.
If each and every one of us can adopt this method of sponsoring one individual, you don't have to take them to private school if you don't have the money, but there are government schools you can, at least the child has education.
We should all look around ourselves. How can we help? We're not talking about only Halal Children's Home. This is a nation that we all have to build ourselves. So open your hearts, open your homes, take these children in. Even if you can't take them in, look at who can you sponsor.
At Halal Children's Home, the way to a child's life is by showing love. And we all know that the heart is what represents life.
And because only a healthy heart can care for others, a free medical checkup was provided for participants, a gentle reminder that compassion must start from within.
Keeping fit is one of the basic things in life, which Islam also approves, that once you're fit, you'll be able to go around your normal daily activities.
Through this outreach, Halal's Children's Home continues to champion a loud, clear message that compassion is everyone's duty, inclusion is everyone's responsibility, and every act of kindness rewrites a child's story. In Abuja, Shamsuddin Usman, NTA News.
Let's talk sports. Hostilities continue in day 2 of the 10th Senate President 2nd Edition Unity Championship Cup being played at the Old Parade Ground. For more on Sports Brief, let's join Moses Kwe on our sports decks.
In the wake of grassroots football in Nigeria, the 10th Senate President Godswill Akpabio Under-18 Football Tournament seeks to engage the youth drawn from across the nation to compete in grassroots football competition, both in female and male categories. Representing the Senate President, Senator Abdul Ningi expresses readiness of the Senate President and the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President to move the grassroots football tournament to the next level.
Thank you very much for having me. Let me express my delight for being here. I'm glad I'm here. I'm also glad I watched this opening ceremony match. I watched the girls and I watched the boys. Your question is, what do you go for here? The only alternative for Nigeria is, of course, the grassroots. The tournament will go on. There are so many matches. We have 21 states and 25 teams. 4 other teams that are female.
And meanwhile, 10 players have reported to the Super Eagles training camp in Rabat, Morocco as preparations intensify for Thursday's 2026 FIFA World Cup playoff semi-final against Gabon. Team captain Trust Ekong, defenders Benjamin Fredericks and Chidozie Awaziem were the early birds at the team hotel on Sunday night. The remaining 15 invited players are expected to arrive today as the 3-time African champions gear up for what promises to be a thrilling encounter against the Panthers of Gabon. The match is scheduled to kick off at 5 p.m. Morocco time, same as Nigerian time. With Sports Brief, Moses Kuye, NTA News.
Thank you, Moses, for that. On that, we come to the end of the English version of the news. Up next is the translation. Thank you for watching. I am Abdullah Hajia. Good evening.
Wize kwen kwa wei nwonana azaba jile ba yeyi ba che ba woya iwo abada natuko isha ndaje zuma woni ye wago ba ngai bedogun mbani shi abo awelo nu etni gigi lo nu asalada sepain ba ngage awi kupia enyele ya enko dnala enmi okone jin ipe kmasin entu nu azabo nu abogo ajiwe mba yelo ba lo etni gigi entna onko belein ba ngage bedogun sepanya nu nyizepata baku ajwe wuye nu ozabagba onwe lo wolo etnyigigi ntna onko bele ajwe ho banu lo milion mutna ba dubu taji tu mutna nchetu shi chwa gwan chetnai taji tu mutna ba nchetu shi tnai chechwa gwan no akobo ipe shi tna ba chetnai gabie nu abada sepanya na yo Mohammed Lawal Aliu wela shaula ga aza nge ba ajwe ba kami osai ho ko dia na bage ebwa ashinpeje gaba sapa ba ngage bala ya ba ku abaje nu azai mba lo nu otinyigi imaika ntuko tunu azabo mba belo otinyigi ntna ba ya gigibo enchedo mba yonwa bai beje mba nu je tunulo nu gadugo sapa nanu otinzinna ba ku sambarka ci ba shinpeje da ababa washiya na yo Michael Ango ontu nwo tutun manaibo nwo jinlo mbai owo tutun aje bagage Michael Ango wo jin oza beweje inu we inwe mo tutun pejiyan lolo we la peje ekwen shado shinpeje daye wa ku bugba fun wu we gage wo tobo che dan nge azaba ye jilai dawobo achiwo sa ambarkan aza bagage baku agmadawo boye nwe na sokwe gbogbo osa nwo jinlo we jin tutun mbai Osa nu ajiyeji naye apa impe entukotunu apabui abajinjiyabo minister sepenya na yo Kingsley to chuku ude wogugan aza mbaye kalayan nge ajin apma na apabui anyashishi na bage abwa abieji na zoko gbogbo woto zajibon wegage azoko mwabelo nu ababwa enchedo na apmai nsepa apabui ya mba hihi abazokunya enchedo yepe znai on tichenu wala atnbwaji aza nga ajin apma ndeye ko na bai abwa bieji nanu eyinye omaje ye atazun eyan putuko ashanzun ngwado nshanzun saizu.
Ẹ̀kálẹ́ ẹ̀ka àtòwúrọ̀ ìròyìn aago méje ti di Yorùbá lóde sétí gbọ̀nyìn láti olúléeṣẹ́ amóhùnmáwòrán NTA ìkànnì karùn-ún tìlú Àbújá Títílayọ̀kẹ́ òun lórúkọ tèmi. Àwọn àjọ mímọ́ ẹ̀sìn mùsùlùmí tí olú ìlú wa ti fi ọjọ́ kìíní oṣù kejìlá ṣe ọjọ́ òpin owó sísan fún àjì ọdún 2025. Ìgbìmọ̀ náà sì ti fi owó ìrìn àjò tuntun fún àjì ọdún 2025 náà hàn látọwọ́ alákòóso ti àjì orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà NACON tó jẹ́ mílíọ̀nù lọ́nà méje pẹ̀lú ẹgbẹ̀rún-dín-mẹ́rin-ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ́gbẹ̀rin-lé-láàádọ́rin náírà àti àádọ́rin kọ́bọ̀. Pẹ̀lú ọ̀rọ̀ tó jáde látẹnu olùbásọ̀rọ̀ àwùjọ Muhammad Lawal Aliyu, ó wí pé wọ́n ti rọ àwọn onírìn-àjò náà láti san owó wọn wọlé kó tó di ọjọ́ òpin ìgbowówọlé láti lè gba ìjókòó náà sílẹ̀ fún ìrìn àjò ẹ̀mí náà. Àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ IRS ti olú ìlú wa ti bo ọlá fún ẹni tí ń ṣiṣẹ́ dípò ìyẹn olóyè Michael Ango. Níbi ayẹyẹ náà, àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ náà ṣe àpèjúwe Michael Ango gẹ́gẹ́ bí aṣíwájú tí ń ṣàtúnṣe tó sì ń fẹ́ ìdàgbàsókè ilé iṣẹ́ náà. Ọ̀gá IRS olú ìlú wa náà fi ẹ̀mí ìmoore hàn fún àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ náà fún ọlá tí wọ́n bọ fún, tó sì tún fi hàn wípé ohun ìyanu ni ayẹyẹ náà jẹ́ fún òun. Ó sì tún fi dá wọn lójú pé òun yóò ṣe ìpèsè tó péye fún ìdàgbàsókè àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ àti ilé iṣẹ́ náà. Lákòótán, orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ń ṣàpérò ńlá sí ọdún 2025 tí wọ́n sì ń ṣàfọkànsí fún ọjọ́ ọ̀la ti sáyẹ́ǹsì láti lè pèsè iṣẹ́ tí yóò sì tún mú àyípadà bá agbègbè káàkiri. Justin Bem Nyi jábọ̀ èyí bí orílẹ̀-èdè ṣe ń ṣayẹyẹ ọjọ́ sáyẹ́ǹsì fún ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ àti ìdàgbàsókè. Mínísítà fún sáyẹ́ǹsì àti ọ̀nà ẹ̀rọ Kingsley Tochukwu Ude rọ ọmọ Nàìjíríà láti gba ìmọ̀ ẹ̀rọ sáyẹ́ǹsì gbọ́ fún àyípadà orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà. Kò ní jù báyìí lọ láṣálẹ́ yìí. Títílayọ̀kẹ́ òun lórúkọ tèmi lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí. Láyọ̀ la ó tún máa pàdé. Ká sùn láyọ̀, ká jí láyọ̀.